Hi, Pearl. Emotionally close to me. So I'm just really grateful to be here for today's conversation on coming home to yourself. And okay, so maybe I can start off with a quick introduction of myself first. Yeah. All right. So I'm Jeannette. I'm the founder of Chill by Net. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, counselor, and psychotherapist based in Singapore. So through my work at Chill by Net, I actually create spaces for people to come home to themselves. And that's why today's topic is really one that is relevant to me. And also, I believe for many people that is listening as well through therapy, hypnotherapy, reflective content, and also group experiences. So I would describe my work as bringing together emotional depth, nervous system awareness, and experiences of self-connection. So perhaps, if you know in Singapore, it's a very fast-paced society, as you know, human is our only resource. We don't really have much natural resources. And so everyone is really competitive and the pace is really, really fast. So this topic of coming home to ourselves is something that is really relevant. And I believe that even for us, we are living in different parts of the world. I think even then, the topic of coming home to ourselves is something that is deeply human because I believe that all of us here longs to know themselves more and longs to really find ways to connect with ourselves better. Yeah. So maybe some of us here are in a hard season right now. Maybe we might be carrying many roles, or some of us are maybe feeling exhausted. And before I go further, maybe I would like to just have a check in, invite every one of us here to just have a check in with ourselves. So if you can look at these roles over here, um, maybe, we can take a look and take a moment to see which one feels most familiar, right? We don't have to answer it out loud. You can just simply notice it within yourself. Maybe it's the responsible one, the strong one, the one who is really trying hard to succeed, right? Or maybe it's even a role that is not here on this slide. Sorry? Yes, that's right. So for me, I relate to each one of them, right? I have to admit that, some of these are what um, feels really close to my day-to-day life. For yourself, Pearl? Yeah. Yes, maybe you can share if you want to. Yeah. 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 Wow. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Paul. And maybe I also share from my point of view as well. Yeah, I know for myself that, there were many seasons when I was just so focused on my work, on focus on being capable, being responsible, being on track. Because as I mentioned, Singapore is just this really competitive society. Everybody walks like really fast, even. Yeah. So I really did not realize how far I have moved away, from what actually felt alive in me. So I was actually going through period where I was changing a lot of jobs, just going to the next thing, from one thing to the next. And after that, I actually developed this skin condition, eczema. And that was actually because of my body giving me symptoms from all the stress that I was taking on, and from not listening to what is wanting to come up inside of me. Yeah. So that's why today's conversation is one that we will actually talk more about these things, and how we can actually tune inwards and listen to ourselves more before things get serious. Yeah. So yes, sometimes, after being so many things for so many people, like for you, Pearl, right, we might actually wonder, where am I in all of this? What do I actually feel? What do I want? Who I am, even, beneath all of these roles that we have been taking on. And this is where our conversation today begins. It's not with fixing ourselves, but with gently learning how to come home to ourselves. So before I share my lens here, I would love to invite all of us here to pause with me on this question for a moment. What does it mean to come home to yourself? Okay, so there's no right answer. It may be a feeling, it may be a word, an image, or even a memory. But if you feel comfortable, you can just type it, down in the chat, or even unmute yourself to speak. What does coming home means to you? Yes. Yes, please. Okay. Yeah. So yes. Hi, Darren. Are you there?
Hi, hi.
Yeah.
Um, I think coming home to myself means to me to be aligned from within myself and to really be aligned with my mind and my heart. Yeah,
Mm,
it's hard sometimes.
thank you for sharing that. I think we have one.
Hello, I'm good, thank you. Good afternoon.
Last.
Oh, okay. Hmm. Well, currently I would say feeling less pressured and just being at peace with myself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Exactly the same answer that I'm hearing, right? So thank you for sharing these. I'm hearing words like peace, alignment, and I love that, because it really shows us something important here, right? Coming home to ourselves is not just an idea, it's something that we feel, it's something that we long to feel, maybe somewhere deep within us. Yeah. Okay, so I will share from Chill by Net lens, right? I see coming home to yourself as a practice of reconnecting with the parts of us that we may have hidden, we may have silenced, we have rejected, or even left behind. Okay, and coming home to ourselves is the moment we start to ask ourselves, what is actually true for me? So we start to tune inwards. Is this process of beginning to notice our body, our emotions, our needs, our values, and even where our boundaries are at. Okay, it is learning to respond from who we are becoming right now instead of reacting from old fears, pressure, or even our survival patterns, which we'll talk more about as we go on today. Okay, right. So this is important. Okay, coming home to yourself does not mean you're always calm, does not always mean we are always confident or clear, does not mean we are happy all the time as well. However, it means that we are learning to stay in a relationship with ourselves. Okay, that means that even when we are uncertain, even when we feel tired, we are emotional, we are in a really angry state, right? Because maybe we didn't get our coffee or like quick fix today, right? It's about learning to stay in that relationship with ourselves. So as I mentioned, it is also the ability to notice what is happening inside of us in real time. Okay. Okay. Okay, so when we are talking about coming home to ourselves, it may sound very simple, right? People just say, just be yourself, listen to yourself, But in real life, we all know that it's not always that straightforward because we don't only exist in one space, right? We move through many different rooms in our lives, right? Sometimes we are a daughter, we are, colleague, we are a friend, we are a manager. So we go through so many different aspects of our lives. Some of us, we are community leaders here as well. And each space may bring out a different part of who we are. Okay, we have a work self, family self, friendship self, online self, private self, and sometimes even just a version of ourselves that we meet when we are alone. Okay. So even within maybe even a work setting, right, we may have different hats or we take on different roles. Okay. So the question becomes, how do we stay connected to ourselves across all of these different spaces? Okay. And this brings us into the term identity. Okay. So we'll talk a little bit more about identity today as well. Okay, so coming home to yourself does not mean you have to be exactly the same person in the same room. Okay, that is very not realistic. Not realistic at all, actually, right? So different places naturally will bring out different parts of us. But the deeper question that I would encourage us to ask here is that are all of these different parts of us still connected to what is true within me? Okay, so this is something that I've learned in my own journey as well. For myself, I'm also not just having one role, right? Even though I'm a therapist, I'm also a content creator. I am someone's wife. I'm a daughter and also a human, right? So part of coming home to myself has been learning how to let all of these different selves actually coexist together, okay? Like allowing them to coexist without abandoning my values, my aliveness, in order to be respected or accepted. Okay, and it's still a learning journey for me, but it's going back to asking ourselves, are am I connected to what is true within me now across the different spaces? Okay, because sometimes we can adapt in healthy ways, right? For example, the way we speak at work may be different from the way we speak with our close friends, and that is really normal. Okay, so one line I love is this. Okay, coming home to yourself is not being the same person everywhere. Okay, it's about staying connected to yourself wherever you are. so much who the room wants us to be. For instance, we may become who our family who our work become, who our community approves of, for instance. And slowly and eventually we may just forget to ask ourselves, and we stop asking, is this still true for me? Right? So a lot of the times we can even become what our thoughts, we may even be trapped by our thoughts. Okay, we become who we think we need to be in order to be loved, chosen, or even accepted. Okay. So when we are talking about coming home to ourselves here, I don't mean becoming something rigid, okay, or even refusing to adapt, okay. It's learning how to stay with ourselves even as we move through the different spaces that we inhabit. Okay. So how does this practically look like for us in our day-to-day life? Okay. So in career, this may look like asking, can I grow? Can I achieve and pursue my purpose without making my entire worth depending on success? Okay, because ambition is not wrong, right? Wanting to do well and striving for excellence is not wrong. But if our whole identity becomes attached to this achievement or our career, then every mistake can feel like a threat to our identity, to who we are, right? Okay, and in relationships, coming home to yourself may look like asking, can I love others without abandoning myself? Right? Can I care for someone and still have my boundaries? Maybe it's about asking ourselves, can I listen and still have a voice? Okay. Maybe we can be close to others, but not without disappearing as well. Okay. So in community, it is about asking ourselves, can I honor where I come from while also listening to who I'm becoming? Because this can be very tender for many of us, because many of us, we love our families, or sometimes we may have complex relationships with our families, our culture, our community, and we do not want to reject where they come from, right? But sometimes coming home to ourselves is the ability for us to hold both the idea that I can respect my roots, right? I can respect where I come from, but I can still grow in a direction that feels true to me. Okay. In faith or purpose, coming home may look like asking ourselves, can I bring my honest humanity into my relationship with God, with meaning, with purpose, right? Not just the parts that have all the answers, okay? Not the parts that maybe we think we need to be in our faith, in our religion, but also the parts that maybe have lots of questions, have lots of grief, longing, or doubt, right? Even certain fears, yeah? So in our private time, coming home to ourselves maybe looks like asking ourselves, can I meet the parts of myself that are still tired? Can I meet the parts of myself that is still unsure, that is tender, or still healing? Because, a lot of the times, the parts that we hide from the world are the parts that need our compassion the most, right? So on this topic of the identity, it's not just about asking who I am. Okay, it's not just about asking who I am, but it's also about asking who do I become in different spaces. Okay, what parts of me do I want to bring forward in this space? What parts of me do I hide? Where do I feel most like myself? Or where do I feel like I have to leave myself behind? Okay, so there are a few questions that we can ask, and these questions are not meant to judge us. Okay, they are not here to judge us, but they are invitations for us to become more self-aware. And the more honestly we can notice how we show up in different spaces, right, the more we can begin to return to ourselves with choice. And this is very important. This choice is really important. All of us have that. Okay. Okay. So when we begin to notice all this, yes, sure. Yes, Carl. Yeah. Yeah. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah. 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 Mm, yeah. Thanks for this question. It's a great question because, like, sometimes our cups are just really running low, right? We have nothing to actually, kind of pour back to even our friends, our families, and there's just this sort of need to take our own space or even retreat into private time, right? And I just want to say that this is just so essential for all of us. We all have times where we just feel like we just can't meet the expectations or even bring ourselves to certain spaces like work, like even friend group or even the community group, right? And I guess is learning how to honor that we all have these seasons in our life. Yeah, even for myself, there are times where I was 9 months unemployed because I had to tend to a skin condition. I just didn't have the energy to actually go and meet any of my friends or go back to work. And I think these are the times where it's even more important, to not judge ourselves, and these are also moments where we can invite self-awareness, where it's a tough moment for me right now, and I'm doing my best. Yeah. And even just by noticing that it's a tough moment for us, honestly, in the moment, I think that can sort of bring a little bit more relief. And what we need in these moments are often compassion more than a judgment. Because as humans, it's like we can't be on all the time. It's like all of us have these seasons of cocoon seasons, I call it, right? Hmm. Yeah. But thanks for that question. Is something that yeah, I hope it answers the question. Okay, great. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So once we begin noticing, these different versions of ourselves, even the versions of us that just can't bring ourselves to get up, to go to different spaces, right? Another question will naturally come up, to us. And that the question is that why do we lose connection with ourselves in the first place? Okay. Why do we lose connection to ourselves? So when we ask ourselves why we disconnect with ourselves, when we ask ourselves this question, I want us to begin with compassion, Okay, and that means that most of us do not disconnect from ourselves because something is wrong with us. Okay, oftentimes we disconnect from ourselves and others because some part of us actually learned how to survive. Okay, and this can come from painful experiences, right? And when I say painful experiences, it means that moments where something felt like it's too much for us. Okay, sometimes it's like just something felt too much, too fast, or sometimes we are just unsupported in a moment where we need support. So we kind of just like disconnect from ourselves. And sometimes it's the painful experiences of rejection as well, where we learn to hide certain parts of ourselves so that we won't feel judged or left out. It can come from family, cultural, and community expectations as well. So where we learned maybe certain things is to be praised, right? If you did really well in your job, or if you could be that friend for everyone, you might be praised. And we also learn from our family and culture what is discouraged and what parts of us felt harder to bring forward. These are all learned through the expectations that our culture and family have for us. Sometimes it could be the pressure to succeed as well, the pressure to compare ourselves, right? And sometimes it comes from being the strong one. Yeah, earlier we talked about it, right? The one who holds everything together, the one that everybody depend on, and the one that does not ask for help easily, right? So sometimes we actually disconnect because we just didn't feel safe. Okay, didn't feel safe enough to be honest about what we felt, what we needed, what we wanted. And this connection is not a sign of failure, right? And this is something that I want all of us to know. It's just certain parts of us have learned, maybe in early parts of our day, right? We have learned that this is how I stay safe, this is how I can be accepted and belonged in a community, okay, or in a job context. Yeah. Okay. So when a part of us learns that being fully ourselves does not feel safe, we often begin to develop ways of adapting. Okay, we may begin to please, to avoid conflict. We perform to be accepted, proving, hiding, or sometimes we also overthink, right? And we try to stay busy or just deem ourselves in places, in social settings. Okay. And a lot of the times, these adaptations, they may just look like personality traits from the outside. Okay. We might just think that, oh, okay, this is just my personality, right? And maybe I'm just the strong one. Maybe I'm just the one that doesn't like to be around people. Okay, so a lot of the times it's not because something is wrong, as I mentioned, is that all of these behaviors, tendencies can be just how we have learned to survive, right? How we have learned to belong, how we learn to stay safe. Okay. So when people feel disconnected from themselves, okay, they often think they need to push harder to find clarity. It's like we may start asking ourselves, what is wrong with me? We may start asking ourselves, why am I like that? Is it just my personality? Right? And I'm sure all of us can relate to these moments. And even in the therapeutic work that I do with clients, this is the first question that they always come into the session to ask me, what is wrong with me? Okay. But sometimes the deeper question here is not what is wrong with me. Okay. The question here is maybe what part of me is tired. Okay. What part of me learned that it had to leave itself in order to be safe, in order to be loved, in order to be accepted. Okay. So once we ask this question, okay, we can begin to understand why rest and inner connection and basically this conversation that we are having about coming home to ourselves matters so much, right? Because the parts of us that have been surviving are also the parts that are deeply, deeply tired, okay? The parts of us that has been maybe performing in a certain way, pleasing to avoid conflict and all of that is also the parts of us that is tired and exhausted. Okay, so this brings us to the next part of today's conversation, and that is rest. Okay, that is rest. And so this is where rest comes in. Okay, and rest is not separated from coming home to ourselves. Okay, in fact, this is a very important part of today's conversation. Rest is one of the ways we return to ourselves. Okay, especially if we have spent years pleasing, if we have been performing more than our capacity and just trying to be the one that stays strong and holding everything together. Parts of us may have been deeply tired. Okay, not just physically tired. Okay, when I say tired, it means that it might be our mind that is tired. Sometimes it's our heart, sometimes our body and our spirit, right? So for me personally, rest became something very meaningful to me, not just as a concept, but it was something that I had to learn in my own life as well. Okay, so for a long time, in as part of growing up, I associated growth with doing more. Okay, maybe it's also part of the culture in Singapore is really fast paced as well. So I was really associating growth with pushing harder, being more productive. And over time, I just realized that, rest is not the opposite of success. It wasn't the opposite of productivity or purpose. Rest is actually what allows us to hear what is true for us again. Okay, so 5 years ago, I took my first ever break from my job, and it was during that break that I was able to hear my inner voice again. I was able to reconnect with what truly matters to me. So today, when I talk about rest, it's not only about sleep, okay? It's not only about sleep, but it is also about a lot of the other rest. Here we have 7 types, okay, which I will be talking about it. So I would like to use these 7 types of rest. It's not as a just not as a well just it's not a wellness checklist kind of thing, but it's a self-awareness map. Okay, each rest will help us to maybe reflect on what parts of us have been overworking. Okay, what parts of me have been over functioning. Okay, what part of me just feels like it wants to come home. Okay, and we will go through each one. So when we look at physical rest, okay, when you think about physical rest, we might just think about sleeping. Yes, sleeping is part of physical rest, okay? But physical rest is also about, are we giving our body enough stretches? Are we maybe, allowing our body to relieve certain tension? Sometimes body massage can help with that. I love massages, right? Who here also love massages? Yeah. Yeah. So yes, I love massage. Right? So massage can be a great way to give our body that physical rest as well. Okay. So when we talk about mental rest, okay, it's about, are we giving our mind a break from thinking, constantly thinking what's next, what's next, what's next, constantly planning, constantly analyzing, or even worrying, right? So are we giving our mind that mental break? Okay, so one really effective method is really, I always like to say, when you connect with your breath, you can try this now, right? As you are breathing in and out, focusing on your breath, you actually disconnect with all that mental chatters in your mind for that moment. Okay, so sometimes even just 1 minute of breathing exercise each day okay, you are able to just kind of give your mind that break that it needs, because your mind has been working so hard for you every day. Okay, it's always the one that's analyzing, worrying. Yeah, and of course we need our mind for us to work and function in our daily life, but also don't forget to let it rest. Okay, so for emotional rest, okay, emotional rest is a bit different from mental rest. Okay, emotional rest is about asking ourselves, do we have spaces where we can express ourselves honestly? Okay, can we have spaces that we can just not pretend that everything is okay? Can we have spaces that we can actually allow ourselves to feel authentically and just be without needing to put on a front? Okay, so that is emotional rest. Okay, which connects to social rest a lot, because sometimes we may find people where we feel safe and we can just be, we don't have to explain ourselves much, right? Or maybe we don't have to become smaller in order to belong. So social rest is about asking ourselves also if we have social groups where we can allow ourselves to speak freely and have a good time, right? And creative rest. Okay, creative rest is really important. I personally felt that is something that I really need at this moment of my life. Okay, so creative rest is, if every day you are just using a lot of creative juice, like for me, I have to churn out content every day. I believe, maybe for Pearl as well, we may have to be like thinking about new ideas every day, right? And are we giving ourselves that break from that constant need to produce? Okay, constant need to come up with content, and sometimes we will lose touch with inspiration, if we don't give ourselves a creative break. So creative break here can be reconnecting with nature. It could be reconnecting with just play and even the beauty, anything that can inspire you again. This is really important. Okay, so sensory rest. Yes, so sensory rest is something that, especially if we have been on our phones, our gadgets, our digital device, okay, this is really applicable. Okay, will be applicable for you, because our nervous system may be really overstimulated by this digital gadgets, or sometimes if we work in environments where it's really really loud, sometimes we can be overstimulated by bright lights or noise, or just constant output from people. This is where we might need to check in with ourselves on how much sensory rest we are giving. Okay, I have to admit that for me, the sensory rest part is really, really lacking as well, because of how much screen time and phone time that I spend every day. Okay, so exactly right. Yes, yes. And even if I put a screen time limit, it still doesn't help. Yeah. So time to give myself. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So sometimes, when I go and eat dinner, I will tell myself to just leave my phone at home, and then I just go and get dinner without my phone. Yeah. But I will still look at my husband's phone. Yeah, it's hard, right? I know that it's hard because we are just really yeah, it's not easy to be in this digital age as well, I have to say. Yeah, especially with AI coming up, but that's just another topic for another day. Yeah, okay, and then the last one, the spiritual rest here. Okay, spiritual rest is about how often do we give ourselves time to connect with something that is greater than ourselves? Okay, this can be religion, but it can not be religion as well. Okay, it could be about connecting with a sense of deeper meaning, deeper purpose, something that is a deeper sense that my life is helped by something greater or just more than just effort. So connecting with spiritual with yourself spiritually, that can be a form of recharge as well. Okay. And the reason this matters is because sometimes when we say, I am tired, I'm exhausted, we do not always know which part of us is tired. Okay. We may not always know that. So instead of only asking, how do I get more sleep? Should I, go and sleep a few more hours? We may also ask ourselves the question, what kind of rest is my inner self asking for now? Okay. Because sometimes by coming home to ourselves, it's also beginning to notice that parts of ourselves may have been carrying a little bit too much. Okay. And giving ourselves that permission to rest is just really, really an important part of today's conversation as well. Okay. So instead of only talking about rest as an idea, I would like to guide us now into maybe a short inner safe space visualization. Okay, it's just a practice that I find that it might be appropriate and helpful to bring into today's conversation to help all of us here notice which part of us may need a little bit more care. And it's a really, really quick exercise. It's probably just maybe 5-6 minutes. It's a short inner safe space visualization. Has anyone here done something similar before? Okay, it's good that if it's new to us. Yeah. Okay. So it's a practice that is informed by my work in clinical hypnotherapy and nervous system care. But this is not therapy here, okay? But you are always in control, meaning to say you can keep your eyes open if you want, okay? Or you can soften your gaze, simply listen, or you can just simply listen in whatever way that feels comfortable for you, okay? And just take whatever is helpful and leave whatever that doesn't. Okay, for those that are comfortable just engaging in this visualization, I can just invite you to kind of just find a comfortable space for yourself right now, wherever you are. Okay, right. And now just allow yourself to find a comfortable position and close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you, or just simply lower your gaze. And I'll like you to kind of just take in a breath through your nose and out through your nose. And just begin by noticing your breath as you breathe in. Begin noticing your breath as you breathe out. As you breathe in, just breathing in a sense of calm. As you breathe in, just breathe in a sense of peace. And as you breathe out, just allow any unwanted tension to leave your body. Allowing any unwanted thoughts to leave and float away. And as you notice each breath, just begin to let your attention gather inwards. Just with each exhale, allowing the shoulders to soften a little bit more. Allowing that jaws to loosen slightly. Allowing our body to feel the support beneath it. With every inhalation and exhalation, you allow yourself to relax a little bit more and more. With every inhalation and exhalation, you allow yourself to settle a little bit more and more. And just allow your mind and body to know that these few moments you can just relax at your own pace. Now, in a few moments' time, I'll like you to bring into your mind a place where your inner self can feel safe. This place can be a real or imaginary place. It can be indoors or outdoors, it doesn't matter. Just allow your mind to show you a place. Allowing your mind to show you a place that feels safe enough for you today. It may be a room, could be a place in nature, anywhere that feels right for you today. Just allow yourself to immerse in that place. And now, just notice what is around you in this inner safe space of yours. Just notice what you can see around you that tells you that this is indeed a safe space. Just hear what you can hear around you, the sounds around you. Perhaps there may be a scent or familiar fragrance that you are hearing, smelling, and just allow yourself to feel and touch whatever that you can around this space. Just allow yourself to maybe taste something that you can around this space. Okay. And now, just notice how your body feels like in this safe place, this favorite place of yours, a safe place of relaxation. And just notice in this space, is there any part of you that can just soften or relax just even a little? Is there a part of you that feels a little bit tired or exhausted? Just witnessing it without needing to change anything. Or if nothing comes up, that's okay as well. Or perhaps if there's a part of us that feels a bit supported here. Alright, now just notice your safe space once again. Okay, just look around you and notice this space once again. And just know that this is a place that you can come back, okay, wherever you want to. Not just today, but just whenever you need a moment of reconnection. And you can bring yourself back here by remembering a color, an image, or a feeling. Okay. Right. And now you can just begin to notice your body again. Feel the contact with the chair that you're sitting on, the space around you. And now just take a gentle breath in. And well done for doing this exercise with me, or even if you're just listening to it, whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes or lift your gaze and just bring your attention back here into the present moment, right back here. All right. Thank you for doing that with me. How did everyone feel? What came up? Okay, anybody would like to share? How does the safe space look like? Oh, yeah, yeah, I could see that tease from your face, Pearl.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a rather like serene experience, feeling different parts of me, like having a chill time together in the house with comfortable sofas and just accepting each other for who they are and feeling like, it's comfortable, fun, safe, and yeah, it's relaxing to that extent. Yeah.
I saw that Nelson actually wanted to unmute just now as well.
Yes, hello everyone. So sorry. Yeah, I actually joined late. That was in the middle of the session, so I couldn't get the whole reflection moment. But I think it was worth it. I think hearing Pearl share her reflection shows that it was worth it. So sorry for joining late. Thank you.
Let Yeah. Anyway, this session is recorded, right? Yes. So I do this with my clients, but I don't actually do this. I do like I put shorter versions on my YouTube, but not the full like therapy. And these safe space visualizations are, kind of grounding tools to bring ourselves just back to the present sometimes, when we feel tired or overwhelmed. These are just tools that immediately we can have, right, to bring ourselves back to a relaxing place. Yeah, but I don't put this on the podcast. Yes, yeah, hmm yeah. So I do shorter versions of it on my TikTok, YouTube, probably on the podcast as well. You're right. It can These are really short practices that is really accessible and anyone can do it anytime. It takes like really 5 minutes, right? So it's a simple coming home practice, not to escape our life, but to really reach ourselves with a little bit more grounding and, like you said, peace, right, and safety. So it is also a personal practice that I do for myself, actually, but just in different forms. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Really glad to hear that for albums. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yes, we are coming to the end of today's webinar, right? And I just hope that you guys, even if you didn't manage to join the safe space visualization from the start to the end, it's the resources are really available on the YouTube, or even for my own channel as well. Sometimes I do this short grounding, 5 minutes grounding meditation, and these are practices that we can use to help us, okay, to reconnect with ourselves. And coming home to ourselves is really not a one-time destination. Right, it's a relationship that we keep on building with ourselves. So each time we pause and we notice what is happening inside of our head, our body, right, and we meet ourselves with that compassion, um, and choose what feels true for us, you are already practicing that coming home to yourself. Okay, it's a moment to moment thing. Okay. Yeah. So, any questions that we have for today's topic of coming home to ourselves? Yeah. If you have any questions, and if, let's say, you might want to ask, you can leave it in the chat as well, right? If it's not convenient to unmute, you can leave it in the chat. Yeah. So if no questions, I just wanted to say, really happy to connect with all of you guys here, and just having this space to kind of like just have some time to really reconnect with ourselves today, right? And if this conversation spoke to you, this is the heart of my work actually that I hold in Chill by Net. And if you like more personalized support, I do have one-on-one sessions. I support individuals and couples through counseling, psychotherapy, and nervous system, and clinical hypnotherapy. So I work around emotional patterns, life transitions, relationship struggles as well. Most importantly, also reconnecting with the self beneath all of that pressure and survival, right? So if you want, you can also find me on Instagram, TikTok, and also I have a community that is you can scan the QR code if you would like to just join. There will be event update and live sessions. Sometimes I do put certain like a short grounding tracks there as well, but there's no pressure. It's just an open invitation to really continue the reflection in whatever way that you feel is supportive for you. Okay, so right. Yes, it's actually just a Telegram link. Oh, thank you, Pearl. So we recently just migrated. The previous group, it wasn't like a public broadcast, so I just created this actually too. So you guys are the first people that is in there. Yay! Yeah. Yeah, so I just actually really want to extend my gratitude. I think it's also a fate. I was just telling Pearl that it's a fate that we got to connect from Singapore to Ghana. Yeah, and I just felt that I feel a lot of gratitude, and I just really want to extend my thanks to Pearl again. So because of this, I'm just offering just complimentary 20-minute guided nervous system reset. It's something quite similar to the safe space that we did, but of course, this is just a little bit more on the nervous system for those who feel drawn to experience this work more personally. If you enjoyed the safe space visualization, may find this beneficial as well. This is actually informed, of course, by clinical hypnotherapy, but it is not the full session, right? But it's designed to help you to actually reconnect yourself and to let your nervous system really slow down and relax a little bit. So if it feels supportive for you, right, you can always just scan the QR and just reach out to me. It's again, only if you feel called for, and I just feel called to extend this as a complimentary session for anyone who would like to just. Mhm. Oh, yes, that would be so great, Cole. Yeah. So I mean, this is just something that you don't have to have any problems or serious issues or like really like a mental health condition to actually enjoy the benefits of these reset sessions, because this is more of like for people who just need a pause in their hectic week. If they feel like they want to slow down a little bit, because just now we talk about how the mind might be running and running nonstop as a as a habitual way, right? So this would be helpful if you would like just that 20 minutes of quiet time for yourself to reconnect with yourself. Okay. All right. So so that's all actually. And before we close, I'll just invite you guys, if you can, to just share a short reflection on the feedback through the form. It should only take a few minutes, because this is going to help me understand what resonated with you guys, what felt supportive, and how I can actually continue to create such spaces like this. So yes, just feel free to scan the QR, and you can also let me know if you'd like to stay connected with the future offerings that we have at Chill by Net, that helps you to actually come home to yourself. Hey. Mhm. That's great. Thank Yeah. I do have a link to. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mhm. Oh, you guys do retreats. Okay. Uh-huh. Oh. Oh. Uh-huh. Oh. Oh. Wow. Oh, yeah. So yeah, it's really I don't know, I love retreats, like it's really just this idea that it's just a pause from everything, right? Yeah, yeah. It's yeah. Well, that is gonna be really hard. Because I know retreats are really not just a few hours, right? It's like days. Yeah, yeah. Oh, please do. If you come, let me, kind of just like bring you around as well. Yeah, we'll look forward to that. Yes. Yes, let's manifest that and make it happen. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Mm, 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 mhm, mhm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mhm, mhm, mm, mm, mm. Okay. Yeah, I'm so glad that, you asked this question because I didn't plan for really the 9 months of break, right? So I think financial part was really a struggle for me back then. But thankfully, I was already working like a 5 years, 4 or 5 years, so there was some savings, but it was more of the perception, that we will find stressful, from our maybe commitments, responsibilities, the perceptions of even family, right, or friends. Is that whole perception of wow, you're just like unemployed, and you're just taking a break like that for yourself. It was more of that I was struggling. But of course, as the months goes by, financially you will eat up your savings a little bit, right? So I for me, I was quite thankful that it was enough for me to survive that 9 months. But along the way, I think the biggest stress that I had to deal with was more of the people's perception and being okay with. Yeah. So I would say that if let's say financial is just sort of just this concern, um, I think we can reach out for support. I think don't be afraid to reach out for support, because nothing beats our putting ourselves first and our mental well-being first. And I believe that only when our mindset is right, when we can hear our intuition again, our inner self again, then we can, go back to just doing what we love, doing what is required of us, right? And all of us need that break from time to time. And I just see that, we can lean into the support of people around us, right? And for me, it's also through that break that I started to create content. Because I had a lot of time to think about what I want to do. And as I started creating content, I was so surprised that I managed to make money out of it as well. It wasn't a lot, right? I mean, it was like, it was like still nothing compared to a full-time job. But it was that that few earnings from my content 5 years back that also told me and gave me the courage that I could start something on my own. I could actually make this maybe eventually a full-time thing. So it's like small steps along the way, and I want to say that we never know where this whole break can take us. Our mind is just so limited in terms of thinking of the possibilities. I mean, it always thinks of the worst case scenario and like, okay, if I take a break now, I am going to become jobless and I am going to not, be able to survive. But it's not always true, because our mind likes to predict the worst case scenario. But what if it all works out, right? What if giving ourselves the